In this project, we're going to make these handlebars. This requires that we use a sweep, and we need to have a sweep path that follows this particular shape. Now, we only need to draw a path of half of the shape because we can mirror the other half. But the challenge is that our path has to traverse two different sketch planes. On our top plane, we have a straight line coming from the middle that would be 140 millimeters and meets tangent to an arc with a radius of 40 millimeters. Looking at our side view, from that point, we have a straight line of 35 millimeters tangent to a 40 millimeter radius arc, tangent to a 90 millimeter radius arc, and ending with a 90 millimeter long straight line tangent to that last arc. Now our path is following the center line of this tubing, which has a diameter of 25 millimeters. I've started a new part studio in millimeters, and I'll start this new sketch on the top sketch plane, view normal to the sketch plane, and the first line of my path, I'm going to go to the left and make this a 140 millimeter line. I'll end that. Now I have a 40 millimeter radius arc, so I'm going to draw a construction line from this endpoint, 40 millimeters vertical, and I'll use this as my center point for a center point arc. So the center of the arc is there. I will make it coincident to the end of the line and have it be horizontal to the start point. And I can see that that is fully constrained. So there's my top view. So I'll accept that. And I need another plane, sketch plane to work on. And just kind of rotating this around a little bit, I can see I'm going to connect to this endpoint. And it wants to know how I want to create this plane. Well, let's go with a plane point, which means I can pick this point and then a plane that I want to be parallel to, and I'm going to choose the right plane. So we now have a sketch plane on the end of that point, and I'm going to start a new sketch, and I want to be on that plane. Now I'm going to view this normal to the sketch plane. There's my endpoint. I want to make sure I can use this, so I'm going to use my Use tool to click on that and make that available. Now we said that we start from this point, we go out this way 35 millimeters, and I'm going to end that. Now there's a 40 millimeter radius arc, so I'm going to use a construction line again from this endpoint going down 40 millimeters. Again, I'll use a center point arc, using the end of this line as the center point, making it coincident to the end of that line and horizontal to my center. So there's my 40 millimeter arc there. I'm going to create another construction line from the end of this arc, and I know that the next arc will have a radius of 90, so my construction line will be 90 millimeters long. And again, I will use a center point arc. The end of the line is the center point, coincident to the end of that arc, and vertical to my start point. And then last, I will add this 90 millimeter long horizontal segment and escape the line. Now, I can rotate a little bit, and you can see how we've used the two sketch planes to create a path for half of our handlebar. Next, we have to create the round profile at a 90-degree angle to this end line. That will be the profile that will follow our path. So we're going to create another sketch plane for that. In this case, we're going to use, again, a plane point. Choose that endpoint and choose the front plane as being our parallel plane. With this, we'll start a new sketch on this plane. I'll view normal to that sketch plane. We'll use a center point circle, and I want it to be on this center point. Well, it's not lighting up for me, so I need to use my Use tool to activate that point. Now I can use my center point circle, and this is going to have a diameter of 25 millimeters. So that's fully constrained. We'll accept that. I'll view isometric, and I can see the path, and I can see the profile. So we will use our sweep feature. We'll choose that profile, and now for our sweep path, we will click on the segments for that to follow. And that looks right. So we'll accept that's half of our handlebars. So our next thing is to mirror this half. It wants to know what entities. I'm going to use a window to choose all of that, and then the mirror plane, which will use the right sketch plane. That looks correct, and we'll accept that. Last would be to shell this out. It has a thickness of 0.5 millimeter, very lightweight. So we'll use our shell tool. We would choose both of these ends that we want to remove and set the thickness to 0.5, and that hollows out our tubing. With that, we've created our handlebars.